Rangers fans, welcome to season 4 of Liberty Blue, the essential New York Rangers podcast. We are also on Believe Network. Thank you so much to Believe for sponsoring us. I'm Andrew Chelney alongside Nick Zararis. And Nick, Rangers hockey is back. They just, they kind of got shut out in game 1. Oh no.
So, Andrew, to commemorate the return of the Rangers season, I wrote a poem, actually, if you're not going to believe this. Okay?
No, I can't believe this. This is this is news to me.
The title of this poem is It's Only One Game. It's only one game, but the Penguins aren't supposed to be good this year. It's only one game, but the Penguins are trying to draft Gavin McKenna. It's only one game, but that Mike Sullivan coach team looked an awful lot like a Peter Laviolette team. It's only one game, but Artemi Panarin and JT Miller both still look hurt. It's only one game, but Vladislav Gavrikov looked like Russian Carson Soucy. It's only one game, but Sidney Crosby was the best player on the ice. It's only one game, but the bottom six was outchanced 19-10 and outshot 4-8. That was a miserable hockey game. There's just there's no dressing it up. No, that was boring. Like, not even to the point of, they got outplayed. That was a miserably boring hockey game. The Rangers would just pass the puck up the ice, skate into the Penguins, turn the puck over. The Penguins would send it back in. And we did that for 60 straight minutes, where the Rangers, who are more talented, unequivocally, unambiguously, the Penguins are not a good hockey team. The Penguins have 3 third lines. To be generous, they have 3 third lines. Evgeny Malkin looked young. Evgeny Malkin was one of the best players on the ice yesterday. And look, I say a lot of this tongue-in-cheek. It is obviously only one game. You cannot draw big conclusions. But if you're a pessimist, if you're cynical, that was exactly what you expected to happen. Everything, and again, we've been saying this all summer, it can't all possibly go wrong 2 years in a row, but that was everything that could possibly go wrong. We were talking about it before we went on. The first Brazil goal, 3 separate mistakes. Trocheck loses the draw outright. Vakanainen leaves his spot at the net front to cross-check somebody, doesn't break up the play. The pass still gets across, and Lafreniere is trying to break up the ice, go the other way, does not follow the puck, leaves Brazil in all by himself. And look, reality, it's a 1-0 hockey game against a division rival that has Sidney Crosby. Dan Muse, nice job. I give them credit. They looked really well prepared last night. That was the overarching consensus from the Pittsburgh people I read. And when I was talking to Hunter Hodes yesterday after the game, the Penguins looked pretty good. And
sure,
there's not a lot to glean from one game, but I will say this authoritatively. JT Miller and Artemi Panarin very much not at 100%. Just unambiguously, they both look slow, they looked indecisive, and they deferred a lot. Mika Zibanejad and Lafreniere had half of the team's shots on goal last night, so that's telling you Cooley and JT Miller not doing a whole lot, and then Trocheck and Panarin not doing a whole lot, and then the bottom 6 got outshot 4-8. I mean, at even strength to get outshot 4-8 for the whole game.
Begs the question. If it's game 1 of the regular season and 2 of your top forwards are not super healthy and they look like they're laboring out there, hey, why are they playing?
Well, we got to sell JT Miller jerseys. It's the home opener, and they retail for $310 before taxes. That's why JT Miller is playing.
Hey, if JT Miller's hurt and Panarin's hurt and they're not at 100% and it's October 7th,
what do you think's going to happen in January?
Hey, why are they playing? Why are they on the ice?
We have seen the Rangers do this forever, where guys, I mean, they've been talking about, well, Braden Schneider's going to be so much better this year. He finally got his labrum fixed. When did he tear it? 2 years ago. Why was he playing for 2 years with a torn labrum when you've had off seasons? Right. Yeah, labrum surgery is 4 or 5 months recovery, but he could have gotten that done. He could have started the season in November and gotten it squared away. We constantly relitigate the 2023 trade deadline where both Trouba and Lindgren were hurt, and they insisted on not LTIRing either of them, and Trouba played all of 2 weeks after breaking his ankle, which, again, speaks to a sense of prioritization. And, again, if you went last night you probably should get your money back. You should at least get a rebate for going and spending probably 180, 190 bucks and to not get a single goal.
It's probably
against
more
the
than that
Penguins.
because it was the season opener. You probably think at least 200.
Yeah, even still, that $200, $210. You got shut out by Arthur Shilovs, who had a
And
nice
food and drinks. I mean, you spent
and
a good amount of money
parking
at
or public
MSG.
transit. Yeah. And you didn't get to hear the goal horn once. You didn't get anything to get excited about. I mean, I want to say Clear Sight gave the Rangers one high danger scoring chance for the whole game. I think Natural Stat Trick had them at 3 or 4. But again, you are talking about a team that is trying to get into a new system that has guys playing with each other that have never played with each other before, and a really low upside bottom 6 and a really low upside bottom 4 defense. That what happened last night is everything that can possibly go wrong for you in a hockey game. And some of that is mental. And we will see. And this has been my big talking point over the summer. Can you put the toothpaste back in the tube? Can you convince all of these guys, hey, we're building something slowly. It's going to take some time. Don't fall off the wagon yet. It is game 1 of 82. There are 81 more of these. You have an opportunity to get back to it against Buffalo, who is not the best of team either. Go out there, play a reasonable hockey game, and start to make progress. That is what I want the first 2 months of this season to be. I don't even need them to win a lot of games, but I would like to see signs of progress, whether that's guys playing better, whether that's the system ironing itself out a little bit, a little more fluid, a little more dangerous, especially offensively. Get your feet under you and start to figure out what type of team you're going to be. Because right now, this looks like 18 different skaters playing in front of a Vezina caliber goalie with no real feel for each other. And again, new system, a lot of new faces playing with each other. You get a little bit of grace. But you fired Peter Laviolette a season after winning the President's Trophy on the premise that Mike Sullivan was such a better coach, that he's the best coach they could possibly get. He's going to have a grace period, but that is only going to last for so long.
Well, I also, the optimist in me thinks about it this way, where you think about the 2013-14 season, and I'm not saying that they're gonna make it to the final or whatever, but you think about that season where it was the
Jonathan Quick's going to the glue factory? Is that what you're telling me?
It was the first year of Alain Vigneault, and the Rangers for 2 months looked like they didn't know what hockey was. If you remember very correctly, Marty Biron had to retire because of what Tomas Hertl did to him. Like it was misery for about 2 months of the Rangers learning and understanding how to play under a new system, under a new vision, and trying to kind of figure out how to go from there. And I'm not saying that this team is that 2014 team, and a little bit of this is think of last year. The Rangers started the season incredible. They dominated Buffalo in that first game.
I want to say 10-3-1 in the first 14, something like that.
They looked so good. They were beating everybody. No, did they beat Pittsburgh in that first game or Buffalo? I can't remember.
6-0. They beat Pittsburgh 6-0.
Yeah, right. They destroyed Pittsburgh. I mean, like that
on the road at Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Like it looked like the Rangers were the exact same team that they were that they got to the conference final. Everything was looking so well, and then the wheels completely fell off. What was it, like late November?
Yeah,
and the rest of the season was over. So, I think it's, it is just one game. I think it could have been worse. I think, the game was boring and there wasn't too much to do other than that really horrid goal that that Pittsburgh, that was the only goal of the game. I mean, I know the score was 3-0, 2 upbeaters, whatever. Pittsburgh got their fantasy points to whoever had if you have Brazeau in your fantasy lineup. I mean, you're a genius, I guess, if we're having,
or you're playing in like a 20-person league,
right?
One of the two.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in those extremely super deep leagues, if you have Brazeau, congratulations. It is just one game, and I want to see at least what they do, for about a month before I really start to really either get worried or get optimistic or pessimistic. There's only been one game, so we're going to only talk about one game. But I think if we zoom out a little bit and go, okay, well, last year started off really well and everything fell off. Now it's 12 years ago, 2013-14, they were horrid for 2 months, and then they won pretty much literally every game the rest of the way, and they went to the final. So, like, these starts can fluctuate, and I think reading too much into the early going, while important, right? Every game is important. Chill out a little bit.
So what I will say, building off of that, I want to give a lot of credit to one of my friends who's a Penguins fan. He texted me like 11 o'clock. I was already in bed, and he wanted to talk shit a little bit to mess with me because that's what some of my friends do. And Rob texted me, "Do you want to hear what Mike Sullivan said about your guys' effort tonight?" Speaking from somebody who heard him say for 3 straight years, "I liked our effort tonight. It just didn't go our way." And more or less, that's what you heard Mike Sullivan say. "I didn't think we were that bad. There's room here." And again, the big thing for me, and I think this is important, with your 2 best forwards, Panarin and Miller, not at 100%, the deficiencies of this lineup look a lot scarier. Just straight up, your 2 best players were not effective last night. And because they are injured, the expectations for them need to be tapered to some degree. And Panarin didn't play in the preseason at all. JT Miller played a singular preseason game. Some of this might just simply be a matter of working your conditioning up. As we talk about all the time, there's a difference between skating on your own. There's a difference between skating on your own, practicing, preseason games, regular season games, playoff games. There's a sliding scale of intensity, and these guys need time to ramp up their conditioning. As hard as you try in practice, you are not going to try as hard as you do in practice in a game. Now, you could say that reflects poorly on the culture. You need to take practice seriously, but we're also adults here. These are tens of millions of dollar athletes that are not going to put their all into a practice because of the nature of hockey, because it's dangerous, because it's physical. But you saw the bad version of this. And I think when you look at that, especially, and I was talking about this with a subscriber today who had DM'd me on Instagram, and Chris said, "Sure is great that Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid, Kirill Kaprizov all signed in a week and a half. And now we basically are sitting here looking at each other going, are they going to pay Panarin market value as a 35-year-old? Because he very transparently said, I'm not taking less money." And real quick on that subject, I would think.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, this is, by the way, the dangers of the reliance on external factors. Again, we've talked about this multiple times throughout the course of the show.
Coaches, players, whoever you want to use.
Continuously rely on outside factors to bring you success. You are not going to have that success. 2 years ago, when they were a power play merchant team, the idea is that you have to rely on the refs to give you power plays to be able to score goals. And when the referees, the outside force, does not lend you those opportunities, you're SOL because you cannot create them by yourself. It's the same thing. It's the same idea here. The Rangers were banking on at least one of these free agents for to hit the market, because now they have the cap space and the cap is going up every year, that they were going to sign somebody to either replace Panarin or, play with Panarin. Panarin takes a pay cut, right? One of these scenarios. And now they're SOL because their external factors are gone. All of the top, what is this, the Charlie Coyle sweepstakes? Like, come on, guys. Like, there's all of the top guys are off the table. Yeah, there's still going to be a good amount of talent that's out there, but no one's going to be as good as Kaprizov. No one's going to be as good as Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid. Like, there's gonna be some good names out there, but the Rangers were hoping for one of those, and what does hope get you? A whole lot of nothing.
It's kind of dark, man. If you're looking at the top free agents, and obviously, we're 81 games away from a potential offseason, but Bobrovsky, who's 38, and the Rangers have a goalie, 41-year-old Alex Ovechkin,
great.
Cale Makar, sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Patrick Laine, who I always will have a soft spot for, but I think going on the sliding scale from we could get Kirill Kaprizov to Patrick Laine is a bit of a tough sell.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Makar and Fox would move me. That's it. That would be.
But we can't play two righties on the same pair. Yeah. We can't do that. That's not how hockey works, apparently.
Well, it's Cale Makar, so I think they would, like, for Makar, they'd be like, oh, none of that matters.
You think we would have to trade for his brother too if we signed Cale Makar? The way the Avs drafted him in the 7th round right before giving Makar the extension he's presently on. The only thing,
well, they traded for Pat Brisson's kid, so what's stopping them from doing that?
Well, we can't get Jack Eichel now, so they can waive Pat Brisson's kid, who for some reason, got an entire paragraph in a preseason write-up in The Athletic a week or two ago. That guy was here to tamper. Like, we could just be adults here. I mean, that was the thesis of an Athletic article, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that was Chris Drury has shrewdly put the Rangers in a position to be major players next summer. Right. They know that Kirill Kaprizov and Artemi Panarin share an agent. So we're going to insinuate that we're soft tampering there. We're going to insinuate that by trading for Pat Brisson's kid, that's going to give us the inside track to getting Jack Eichel. Look, good players don't become available in the NHL. Even Mitch Marner, who was going to be an unrestricted free agent, ended up getting signed and traded because of how infrequent. John Tavares might be the last guy. Genuinely, John Tavares might be the last superstar player who ever gets there. And I wanted to tie this into just talking about the direction of the team, because I think when you get as in the weeds about this as I do, you end up sounding like Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now, where you're talking about the horror and the humanity. And when you look at the Rangers through this lens, Chris Drury fundamentally thinks the Rangers have enough talent. He thinks the Rangers' problem is that they don't have the right attitude. They don't play the right style of hockey. It's not a question of the talent. He thinks they have enough talent to be contenders. He tells you that through his actions, through the way he has maneuvered both coaching searches, free agency, and trades. He thinks this team is good enough. It is simply about getting the right mentality in here. That is why they brought in JT Miller. That is why they named him captain. That's why they signed Trocheck a couple years ago, because Chris Drury thinks the problem with this team is that Panarin, Zibanejad, Lafreniere, back when we had Hidel Kakko, Chris Kreider, they didn't have the ruggedness. They didn't have the dog in them. And I think that is fundamentally wrong. I think when you look at this Rangers team, and I am speaking broadly, I'm not talking about the one that has played one game, they don't have the dogs. And that is not a stinging indictment. There are only so many good players. That's what makes good players, you know. Sure. The Lightning get to have Kucherov and Point and Cirelli and Gensel and Hagel and Hedman and McDonough and Vasilevsky. Florida gets to have Reinhart and Kachuk and Barkov when he doesn't tear his ACL, and Marchand and Lundell and Forsberg and Bob and all of these guys. And there are only so many good players to go around. That is what makes them important. That is what makes them valuable. And it is all on a scale. There are teams who look at the Rangers, like the Sabres, the Red Wings, the Senators, the Devils, I would dare say the Islanders, the Flyers, teams in this cohort who look at the Rangers and say, man, that'd be great. It'd be sick to make a conference final. You know, you don't think the Blue Jackets or the Minnesota Wild would cut an arm off to make a conference final? But when you think about it and you take it in the abstract, the idea, this team was taking too long to be ready. So Chris Drury took the reins, got both jobs, and says, I am in charge here. We are going to play the way I think hockey is played. And that's the difference. Not that we don't have enough talent. It's that we don't have enough of the right type of talent. I think that's why you have Connor Sheary on this team. I think that's why you have Taylor Radish on this team. I think that's why you have Rempe, Carrick, and Edstrom on this team. I think it's why you have Susie. I think it's why you have Schneider, Vakanainen, I would dare say Borgen, because he thinks the problem is the style of play, not the players themselves. Or, and this is probably scarier, he doesn't realize the team isn't good enough. He doesn't realize that. And that's probably like the darker version of this, because that same friend I was telling you about who texted me at 10:30 to talk shit about the Penguins winning, he goes, welcome to the backslide, except you guys didn't win anything. And it's hard not to feel like that in the big picture, but that's the magic of only playing one game. We get to delude ourselves and say, well, it'll be better tomorrow. I don't know, man. The Sabres, I read more than one column that was kind of gassing up the Sabres. Like, don't be surprised. They might do it. And I laughed to myself.
We've also been reading that the last 15 years. Also, they're coached by Lindy Ruff. So that, you know, that.
Who has the highest odds to be first coach fired, by the way?
Yeah. You know, I forget which prediction it was. I saw like some formula was saying that the Sabres have like a realistic chance of making the playoffs. It's like, maybe on paper, maybe. But I just am so not high on Lindy Ruff's style of coaching that I just don't take that seriously. Like if the Sabres start 0-5, and Lindy Ruff gets fired, which would be, I mean, funny, because at that point, like if he was so close to getting fired, then probably just fire him after the season, as opposed to waiting, giving him a whole offseason, giving him training camp, giving him preseason, giving him 5 games, and then being like, oh, actually, we're gonna go somewhere else. I'm not high on Lindy Ruff at all, and I don't think the Sabres are going to win a whole lot of games with him at the helm. Maybe if it'd be really funny if they got Peter Laviolette to come in and be like, oh, hey, guys.
You could call Gerard Gallant. It would take him a while to get here from China, but you could call Gerard Gallant.
You could. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but it is an idea on the list of ideas that you could come up with. It is there. It's not at the top, but of all the possible solutions that you could come up with, that is, in the grand scheme of things, one of them for sure.
I think the thing that worries me the most is looking at that bottom 6 is just depressing. Just candidly, that bottom 6 is depressing. Taylor Radish, fringe NHL guy, 10-ish goals. Not a bad hockey player by any stretch, but not somebody I'm expecting a lot from. I think I would say the same thing about Connor Sheary. Laba had a little bit of juice last night, but he's a rookie. He's a kid. This is his first real NHL action.
And this is not a knock against Connor Sheary specifically, but in the grand scheme of things, a championship team like the Florida Panthers has Brad Marchand on the 3rd line.
Yeah.
And the Rangers have Connor Sheary, right? And that's the distance of which this team and a cup contender / winner like Florida is. That's your line. Is okay. Well, compare. Obviously the Panthers have Barkov and Kachuk and those guys, but look at the bottom 6. The Panthers have Brad Marchand. You can make the joke. Oh, it's there's no tax and please save it. Bill Zito built a team that has Brad Marchand as a 3rd liner, and the Rangers have built a team that has Connor Sheary playing the 3rd line. We are not the same.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I said this in the preseason. I said this 2 weeks ago. I just wanted something to be excited about. I didn't even necessarily mean it in terms of team success. I think they're a bubble team, and I'm going to continue to frame my view of the organization through that lens. But give me something to be excited about. I'm happy Noah Laba made the roster. Let's give the kid a fair shake. Let's give him actual guys to play with who are capable of doing more than just dumping the puck in and turning the puck over. That 4th line was abysmal last night. There's no other way to put it. And I know they only play, 7-8 minutes a game at 5-on-5, but do you see how bad the Penguins' 4th line is? And you're getting that thumped? And I know everybody just said, well, Edstrom, Rempe, and Carrick were good together last year. They played like 70 minutes. And we were just making a stamp of, yep, that's good to go. The bottom 6 does not have enough offense. The top 6 arguably does not have enough offense in terms of chance generation, creating dangerous offense. And you saw what happened last night to the Rangers defense when the offense couldn't get going. The Penguins were able to dumb things down, keep the game plan very simple. And I think the first shift of the game, where Crosby blows by Gavrikov down the right side, jams it on net, Shesterkin makes the save. And real quick, as an aside, Shesterkin looked good last night. It was very refreshing to see Shesterkin given a chance to win, and he kept them in that game. He made a couple of really nice saves. He gave them a chance to win. And it's hard not to look at this team through the lens of last year, through the lens of maybe being a bubble team. But when you have Shesterkin, you can delude yourself a little bit. It's one of the perks of having the great goalie. You can talk yourself into, well, we got him. And I would dare say Shesterkin was the Rangers' best player last night. And I don't think it's particularly close when you go through whether you want to talk about just actual eye test or game score. He was their best player last night.
Yeah, and this is I don't want to say like the poison pill of this, but ultimately this is the problem with having someone. I mean, this is gonna sound crazy, but like this is the problem of having such a phenomenal goaltender is he also cannot score goals.
Nope.
Like he was incredible, made some big saves, He only gave up one goal, and that was because of a cacophony of errors in front of the net off of a faceoff. I mean, it was it was hilarious. It was a clown car siesta of mistakes that led to the only real goal of the game against, and you still lost the game because you can't generate offense. And therein lies ultimately the kryptonite of teams that are built on amazing goalie, and then everything else comes after that. Your goaltender can do everything in his power to win you the game. If you cannot score goals, the game is lost. Your defense, that's why a lot of people think that, and the saying goes, the best defense is a good offense. Because if you have the best offense, the best defense in the world, that's fantastic. But if you can't generate enough offense to score goals, the best you can do is a tie. So you have to generate the offense eventually. And Shesterkin was phenomenal. He was the only reason that game was even 1-0 with 2 minutes to go or whatever it was. But he cannot skate up the ice and also contribute to the offense. Someone else has to do it. And in game one, at least, the answer to that question was, the answer to the question of who can do it was a big flat nobody.
And that gets to the idea of how the Rangers create their offense. What type of team are they going to be? And under David Quinn, they were a transition team. They played up and down. They gave up more chances than they created, but they scored so much, they were able to relatively offset that. Under Gerard Gallant, who wanted to be a bit more of a low event style team, trade a couple of dangerous chances per game and let those few chances ultimately dictate the result of the game. Laviolette tried to get them to maintain that, but as last year unwound, the defense became an abomination. And Mike Sullivan wants this to be a hard-nosed forechecking team. The Rangers do not have any quality forecheckers other than Will Cooley, and Will Cooley's one guy. I like the idea of Noah Laba as a strong forechecking third-line center. He's 21 years old, 22 years old. We're asking an awful lot for a rookie to be the central point of this team. And you can spare me with the Edstrom and Rempe stuff. They play 7 minutes a game. That is not enough for them to dictate a strong forecheck to generate game control. And they kept saying that on the broadcast last night. Ray Ferraro kept saying the Rangers can't get zone time. They're not spending enough time in the Penguin zone. They can't get to the offensive zone. They don't have the foot speed, whether that's to carry the puck into the offensive zone themselves, bob and weave through traffic, or to dump it in and go get it because they don't have the forecheckers. They don't have the guys. And we get to our favorite thing, Trocheck and Zibanejad being half a second late to the play, missing the puck, taking themselves out of the play, and then the play going back the other way because they are not great forecheckers. As much as they throw their bodies around, Zibanejad's good with his stick, getting it in lanes, they are not smothering. Last night, the Penguins, with a island of misfit toys, were able to successfully forecheck the Rangers into mistakes, into slowing the game down.
With a team, with a roster that has like 8 people on it that
are NHL caliber players.
Right. And well, I was going to say, like, if you're not a psychopath like we are, you would have not a single idea on the planet who these people are. Like these guys are NHL B pros to 95 to 97% of people that have that vaguely watch hockey, like vaguely, or like even sort of hardcore, or maybe even like a lot of hardcore fans have no idea who some of these Penguins players are. And you're telling me that these guys outskated and outplayed the entire Rangers roster? That's what game one was. And again, there's 81 more games to go. There's a lot of room for improvement and all these things, but there's only one game that was played, so we can only talk about the one game. And you let a bunch of NHL B players beat you on your home ice in the season opener. And you, by the way, gave the fans 0 goals to cheer for in what was ostensibly a 1-0 game in which your team got outplayed. Not the best look.
Other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? I mean, at a certain point, you keep things in context. And I am trying my absolute damnedest. And I said this before, and I want to expand on it a little bit. The idea of giving me something to root for. I am invested in Noah Laba's development. I am invested in whether Will Cooley can be a 25-30 goal guy, if he can be the new Chris Kreider. I am invested in seeing if Lafreniere can get back to the player he was 2 years ago as opposed to what he was last year. I am invested to see if Mika Zibanejad can figure out whatever's wrong between the ears. I am invested to see if JT Miller's leadership style is going to generate better results for this group. But at a certain point, you as a fan can only watch. I can't help them. Hell, the coach can't help them. At a certain point, and we talked about this all season last year, as the platitudes flowed, as, well, we know we need to play better, our effort tonight was unacceptable. Yeah, was that hit in November, January, February, March? When did you say that again? Oh yeah, all of them. Because nobody took last season seriously. And you can say all you want, well, it spiraled out of control, they didn't have what they needed. Well, are you guys not professionals? Some of us have bad days at work. We can still get something done. We can phone it in reasonably well enough that people don't notice we're not doing our job well enough. You know, the Costanza bit about looking busy by just keeping an angry facial expression all the time. The Rangers have a lot in front of them. We talked about it 2 weeks ago on the Metro preview. This division stinks.
Yep.
The bottom half of that division is a golden opportunity. The bottom half of the Atlantic is a golden opportunity.
And the Penguins, by the way, are one of those bad teams that you should be beating up on. And for the 9th time in this episode, it's one game. Things are going to happen. There's a lot of room for improvement. But if you're serious about, everybody's serious about winning in the NHL, but like, think of it this way, right? You know, you saw the atrocity that was last season. Just a demolition derby of everything going, everything that possibly could have went wrong. And it's game one of a new season. Like, you know, let's say you're part of the group of people that were here last year, right? So this is not including Radish and Laba and guys like that, right? And Connor Sherry. Game one was a good opportunity for you to not show your new head coach and the fans that, okay, last season was really bad. We know was really bad. And we are here to tell you that things are different now. We're here to show you. We're not going to tell you. We're going to show you that things are different, that we are going to play better, that we're going to take this season more seriously, that less of that, you know, the whole, like, you know, they wore the shirt that said no BS on it. The whole premise was last season was really bad. We're going to throw it out. And it was an
aberration. That's the other thing.
Right. We're going to throw it out the window, and we're here to prove that things are different. And then you came out in game one and scored 0 goals against Shilovs and a bunch of guys that most people have never heard about. And Sidney Crosby. Come on. Yeah, it's not great.
And look, we've said this a lot over the years of doing this show. You can play well and not win the game. And that's really our goal here in the first month of this season. I said it at the outset, and I'll reiterate it now and keep going a little further. Your goal as an NHL team is to make incremental progress. You know, you start out down here at the bottom. All the way at the bottom, you got to build yourself up over the course of the season. And it's not linear. Guys will have lows, guys will have highs. I forget who said it after the game. I want to say it was Zibanejad. It might have been someone else, maybe Trocheck, who had said something to that effect. Our goal is to not get too high and not get too low. And I have said that verbatim on this show, that the Rangers are a team over the last 4 or 5 years that when things are going great, they're a buzzsaw. They're unbeatable. But when things are bad, they get their doors blown off. So your goal is to keep making incremental progress. And that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, you win 4 games in October, you win 7 in November, keep going. It means that guys start to figure out how they need to play together. It means we start to get more comfortable in our system about passing off assignments, about who takes who. It means that over the course of the season, our average performance just gets a little bit better. It doesn't need to make huge leaps, but your goal needs to be that in October you're here, by January, you're here. So that way, by the time you get to the postseason, you have a really high floor and you get to the playoffs and you see that discernible jump. You see a team that is focused and ready to be there. We often see that difference in the 8-1 matchup, or in this case, the 1 versus the second wild card, where one team has made incremental progress all season long, and every guy on that team has had at least one game or one moment where it's been like, wow, you got a goal at a Luosterainen to win on the road in Seattle, road game, and it doesn't matter a whole lot. But when everybody chips in a little bit and everybody's making incremental progress, you start to get a really high floor. And you see the difference. Think about the difference between, say, Florida and Tampa Bay in that first round last year, where Tampa Bay, really talented team. The Athletic, going into the season, said Tampa Bay has the best forward group in the entire NHL. Now, they've changed one or two guys versus last year's playoffs, but really talented group. But you think about Florida and the experience and the incremental progress, and that's your goal. If you are the New York Rangers, if you are Mike Sullivan, your goal is we're a little bit better tomorrow against Buffalo, and then we're a little bit better on Saturday, and we go from there incrementally. And that doesn't mean win every game. That doesn't mean win 2 out of every 3 games. It means Noah Laba gets an extra shift here or there. Sure. It means Matt Rempe gets an extra shift here or there. Or it means we experiment. Maybe we break up Fox Gavrikov to try something else out to see if we get 2 pairs going. Our goal is to keep getting better. Incremental progress, raise the floor. So that way, when you have a low game, if your average is here, but you don't have a great game, you can still win. That's what we said about the team 2 years ago. In 2023-24, when they won the President's Trophy, even when they didn't play great, they still found ways to eke out games. And that's the mark of a good team. When a team plays a C+ or a C,
right,
and they still find ways to win, that is a strong hockey team that has a really high floor. The Rangers need to find a way to get close to that. They're not that good. They're not going to be a division capable winning team unless something drastic happens. But they can be respectable. They can be a decent hockey team. And the road to that starts now. It cannot get worse. Look, last year was as bad as it's going to get. And yes, I'm tempting fate. I'm daring the hockey gods to smite me. It cannot get worse than last year. Last year was the most disinterested I have ever been in the Rangers in my life.
Yeah.
Boring, unwatchable, guys who were just miserable to root for, who weren't performing, who said all the right things but didn't do anything like you had said.
They were a big tell me, don't show me type of team, as opposed to being the opposite, which is how you win the Stanley Cup of, you want to win? Okay, well then go out there and show it to me. And then the Panthers were like, we just won, but we'll go do it again. It's fine. Like we'll go tell you, like we'll go show you that we really want it. And then they did. How about okay, you're here to tell me that you want to do better and you want to win. Okay, show me. And go out there and show me on the ice that you are willing to do that, instead of doing a whole bunch of cardio and then telling me or whomsoever else was in that locker room that you need to be better. You're not like, don't tell me that. Go. I'm not the one playing, bro. Go out there and do it yourself.
It's like when Biden was president and he would tweet things that you would ask the president. Well, you're in charge here, man. You can do that.
Right.
As opposed to, it's great, JT Miller, you said no excuses. Well, you guys didn't play well. So what's wrong? What's not working here? And, well, he's banged up. Great. Then why is he playing?
Right.
Like, at a certain point, we need to ask that follow-up question. If the fitness, the conditioning is not there, do we need him on a pitch count? Do we need to limit his utilization to ramp him up because he only played the one preseason game? There are amenable causes to solve the Rangers' problems. And to tie a knot on this section before we move on, I just want to see something progress. I want to see Noah Laba by the end of the year on the first penalty kill. I want to see Braden Schneider get real top 4 minutes. I want something that makes it feel like this season was worth it, because I know more likely than not, this team is not winning a Stanley Cup. So if
this is the third head coach, by the way, that has refused to play Schneider top 4 because they know that he's not a top 4 defenseman. And if
but continuing to expand on that thought and just kind of tying a bow on where we're at in this conversation, there's a lot of time, and time can work for you or against you. And we saw that last year. We kept saying, well, there's time. They can dig themselves out of this hole. They can figure it out. There's a path here to figuring out what's wrong, to making progress. And someone like Schneider, who has been here a while now, Braden Schneider is not a young pup anymore, even though he's one of the younger defensemen on the team. He hasn't shown any real progress since his second season. There was a jump from his first to his second season, but he's effectively plateaued since that second season. And I saw people arguing about this, and I wanted to look it up because I was curious. Schneider had one less turnover than K'Andre Miller did last year in 230, 240 minutes. And the narrative around those two guys could not be any more different. K'Andre Miller was an albatross. He was terrible. All he did was turn the puck over. Braden Schneider turns the puck over at a comparable rate, plays 3 less minutes per game, doesn't really have an upside the way K'Andre Miller does, and Braden Schneider's given the benefit of the doubt. Why does no one else get the benefit of the doubt? Why can't I see Noah Laba figure it out? Why can't I see Will Cooley figure it out? Why can't I see Morrow figure it out? Why are we doing this with Vakanainen and Susi? Because the general manager wants to save face? I mean, that's not the way to run a professional sports organization. And it gets to the root of a lot of my frustration. And look, of course, as my poem so eloquently said, it's only one game.
Sure.
But it looked like a lot of the same last night. It looked like a lot of the same team. You couldn't get to the middle of the ice. You couldn't break out of your own zone. Your power play, you only had the one, but it was pretty bad. Your one good look was a Zibanejad shot that missed the net entirely. That second power play unit's a joke. Like, all due respect to the guys who were out there. Why is Braden Schneider coming on the ice to take Adam Fox off for a power play situation? Why is Matt Rempe out there? What are we doing?
I guess the idea for Matt Rempe is to just stand in front of the goalie and make sure he doesn't see anything.
But
and also, and listen, and in fairness to Matt Rempe too, like I understand the idea that it's a big downgrade, but you got to think of it this way: Matt Rempe is very large, and the that's why like Boston tried putting Chara there for a little bit back in the
6
day.
on 5s,
but also Matt Rempe, to give credit to Rempe for a second, has been working pretty much every day on his deflections. So if you're a really big guy and the goalie can't see in front of you, and also you're good at deflecting pucks into the net, that is a viable strategy. Whether that will work or not, it is anybody's guess. And on paper, it looks hilarious, but it could work given that there has actually been effort put into making that work.
It's frustrating because with the first unit being kind of a dud, that second unit is going to, and look, obviously the second unit has gotten often maligned over the last couple of years. That first unit's at large played up minute 45 of 2 minutes, but I want to see progress. That is my only ask. That is my only request. I don't need to win every game. I don't need to win 2 out of every 3, 1 out of every 2. Let me see guys figure it out. Let me see JT Miller figure out how to be effective at 75% of himself. Let me see Panarin figure it out at 75, 80% of himself. Let me see Zibanejad put the puck on the net. I mean, he had 10 shots on goal last night, and it feels like he had 20, but none of them were dangerous. None of them were particularly quality or made Shilov's move. And it gets back to what I was saying before, and something we said a lot in 22-23. It looks like a bunch of guys playing for themselves as opposed to a cohesive unit operating within a system. It's Zibanejad saying, well, we're losing. I need to shoot. I can't turn this puck over, and firing a puck and missing the glass. It's Trocheck saying, well, we don't have the puck. I need to go get it, missing his check and the puck going the other way and having 3 guys caught up the ice for a 3-on-2. The Rangers have the capacity to be a decent hockey team. Whether or not they realize that capacity will be the story of this season. That will be the defining plot line of this season. Everything else is an offshoot of that. There's enough talent here to make the playoffs. And then, of course, famously, anything can happen once you make the playoffs. But to get there, you got to start making progress now of step A, step B, step C. One thing at a time, get your feet under you, and let's see something happen.
The idea is this, and this is the last thing I'll say for this episode, is the new season is supposed to be a last season did not go our way. Here's to game 1 of a new 82. Game 1 looked like game 83. And that is one of, if not the scariest ideas of the Rangers right now is, why are you just continuing last season? I'm not saying that they are and whatever, but on ice production looked a whole lot like it did last year. So is this not a new, this feels like a continuation as opposed to a new series. This feels like, oh, this is season 4 of a show as opposed to you starting a new one. And that is not, that doesn't give me a whole lot of confidence. Now again, but again, the flip side, the optimist is, okay, well, there's 81 more games to go. They only pretty much lost 1-0 to a bad team, in fairness, but there's a long runway to get better. But I don't want to see game 2 be game 84. There's got to be some positive movement in that direction. Otherwise, this could get pretty ugly very quickly.
I want to see progress. I want to see Mike Sullivan get his system going. I need to see Miller and Panarin look moderately effective, if at least interested in playing good hockey. Long way to go, but definitely not feeling great after one game. That'll do it for this week's edition of Liberty Blue. Thank you so much to everybody who listened to this week's show. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube. We will talk to you guys next week. Hopefully it's better.
Hopefully. Later.